CataractCoach.com. Can you show more Tecnis IOL cases? Sure. ZCBOO and Eyhance, they're great IOLs for the right patient. They're going to show you a complete cataract case start to finish, so we can at least learn something. And so this is a routine cataract case. You see we've got some marks here on the cornea. Those are just kind of the cardinal meridians. And it looks like we've already marked off on the cornea a steep axis of astigmatism. It looks like it's somewhere around maybe like 30-ish degrees. You can see those 3 dots there on the corneal epithelium on either side of the 30-degree meridian. So filling out with our viscoelastic there. And let's make that incision. So that incision we're going to make, again, on that steep axis. See the marks on the cornea there? So we're going to make it pretty close to that steep axis, and that's going to ensure that we're not going to change the direction of the astigmatism in the cornea, just its magnitude, and just a little bit. It'll actually help it. So we'll make our rexus here, continue this case. So let me tell you about these lenses. I've been using the Tecnis lens for the longest time. I used Tecnis lenses originally when they were made by a company called Pharmacia. And then we used Tecnis lenses when they were acquired by AMO, Advanced Medical Optics. And then they were sold to Abbott and became Abbott Medical Optics. And then Abbott sold it to Johnson & Johnson. It became Johnson & Johnson Vision. You know, it's a great lens. And the idea at the time when it came out, probably almost 20 years ago, was revolutionary. And that was to induce a little bit of negative spherical aberration on the IOL in order to help it balance out the cornea's positive spherical aberration. So there's obviously some optical engineer there who's a genius. And I thought it was a great idea. And it really could improve image quality and contrast. Now, mind you, there is a balance in anything with optics, and you may slightly compress the depth of field or depth of focus of the lens by doing that, but you definitely can increase the quality of the vision. And they even did a nighttime driving simulator on one of the original FDA studies that showed that the patients were able to perform better at nighttime driving with this negative spherical aberration lens. So it's a great lens, good material, stays clear in the eye, very stable, huge track record. So certainly it's a great choice lens, but there's a catch. If you look at the original picture, it does have a smaller optic. So go back and look at that title slide and you'll see, yes, the overall width of the optic is about 6 millimeters, very nearly exactly 6 millimeters, but the actual optic itself, the part that actually focuses light, is smaller. Maybe it's 5 millimeters, 5.2 millimeters, and all that means is in certain eyes, in patients who have significantly larger pupils, you may allow unfocused light to enter the eye and hit the retina. Now, a lot of our cataract patients, not a lot of them, have these 6 millimeter pupils, but some actually do, especially in very dark conditions. And so you've got to be cognizant of that. Now, you can also have some benefit of the rexus as the rexus overlaps the optic. As you know, that rexus over time, the anterior capsule doesn't stay perfectly clear, it becomes slightly frosted, and that can help kind of diffuse that light that may get around the focusing part of the optic. But, all these things are considerations. My advice to you is to use all the toys. Use all the toys, all the different lenses. You want to have more tools in your toolbox, not fewer tools in your toolbox. So definitely learn to use every lens that comes to market, and then you, the surgeon, can tailor the lens to the specific patient. And so the patient can have a really nice outcome, and maybe an ideal lens for this patient may be different than an ideal lens for a different patient. And so this way, by having all the available options, you can use all of them. So we're really lucky. We have so many different IOL options from all the different companies. I use on a routine basis lenses from all of them. They're all really good lenses. I don't do any consulting work for Alcon or Johnson & Johnson or Bausch & Lomb or any of these companies that make these lenses, but I'm a fan. I use all their products. And so, again, I want more options for my patients because that gives me the ability to tailor the results and the optics to that patient. Here comes the lens. This is a Tecnis Eyhance. So this is not the ZCBOO. This is the Eyhance version and a toric one at that. So this one does have that central small 1 millimeter bump in the optic. You really have a hard time seeing it here clinically and under the microscope. But the central 1 millimeter zone, in particular for this patient, whose normal pupil size is only about 2.5 millimeters, that central bump of 1 millimeter can provide a significant degree of range extension. Now, if the patient had a much larger pupil, let's say a 5 millimeter pupil, it may not be as much. Because remember, we got to think about what's the area of a circle that's 1 millimeter diameter compared to the area of a circle that's larger. So if we're looking at the pupil size of, let's say, 5 millimeters, and you're looking at that central 1 millimeter bump, that's not going to have a whole lot of benefit, right? But if I get a patient who has a much smaller pupil, 2.5 millimeters in diameter, and now I have a central 1 millimeter bump, that's going to have a lot more ability to extend that depth of focus for this patient. Now, very important to keep in mind, this lens, the Eyhance, great lens, definitely recommend it, but it's a monofocal lens. It is not an extended depth of focus lens, and it doesn't have that designation here in the US. So if you're using it, you should promise the patients monofocal IOL results, and if they get a little bit better than that, especially because they have small pupils like this patient to begin with, hey, it's a bonus. So I use a lot of different lenses in my operating room. I'm not a consultant through any of them, and my loyalty is number one, first with my patients. I'm most loyal to my patients, and number two, I'm loyal to myself. I want to deliver the best outcome for my patients, and I will use all the possible lenses. So yes, definitely, I appreciate the emails. There are a lot of surgeons who watch Cataract Coach who like the Tecnis lenses as their fastball lenses. Hey, bless you. It's a fantastic lens, nothing wrong with it, but I encourage you, get the full spectrum of all products. Get more tools in your toolbox. Get familiar with all the different lens products out there. And that way you can give your patients the very, very best. Just like I did this patient, who's really super happy. Thanks for watching.